Sometimes the most dangerous moments are the ones you never see coming. This is the true story of how a simple bus ride changed Angela's life. She had just closed from her roadside tailoring shop in Ozubulu South, her hands stiff from sewing, her eyes sore from squinting at tiny thread holes. The sun had gone down, but the heat hadn't. Her wrapper was damp with sweat. She counted the money in her bag. 480. Just enough for dinner and transport. She sighed. Her rent was due, her younger brother had malaria again. And nobody had picked up the wedding dress she finished last week. Life was folding into itself, quietly, slowly. Angela stood at the roadside, near the small wooden kiosk that sold akara in the morning. The woman had packed up. The road was quieter than usual. Then it came. A white bus. No markings. Just slightly dusty, like it had been driven far. It didn't honk. It just stopped softly, like it had been expecting her. The door slid open. The conductor leaned out with a tired smile. "Ozubulu roundabout," he said. There were 3 people already inside, a young man wearing earphones, a woman in a church wrapper humming softly, and another man with glasses seated at the back. Angela hesitated. Then the man with glasses looked up at her and nodded gently, like, "You can come in. It's safe." She climbed in. The door slid shut. The bus moved too smoothly, too silent. Angela sat in the middle. No one spoke. She looked around again. The woman in the wrapper had stopped humming. The man in earphones wasn't bobbing his head. The one with glasses was staring straight, not blinking. Something scratched at her mind. She looked at the conductor. He wasn't collecting money. He wasn't even looking back. He just stood near the door, facing the road. Angela checked her phone. Dead. She reached for her bag, just to hold it close. It wasn't there. She froze. She turned slowly. It had slipped down beside her. Or had someone moved it? The man beside her, the one who'd smiled earlier, leaned in. "If you move, it's worse," he said calmly. Angela's body went cold. She couldn't scream. She couldn't even breathe. Something sharp poked her side from under his jacket. The bus took a turn not toward Ozubulu roundabout, but into a narrow path, lined with tall, dry grass. There were no houses, no streetlights, no turning back. Angela swallowed hard. She was not in a normal bus, and nobody was going to help her. The road got rough. Angela could tell they were no longer on any public street. This was a hidden path, the kind okadas avoid, the kind you only use if you know where it leads. And she didn't. Every time the tires rolled over a stone, her heart jumped. Each pothole felt like a warning. Still, no one said a word. The woman who had been humming earlier was now dead silent, her head tilted like she was praying, but Angela knew better now. She wasn't a victim. She was part of them. The man beside her kept his elbow pressed against her side, just firm enough to remind her, "Don't try anything stupid." Angela didn't. She just watched, counted trees, tried to breathe slowly, tried to pretend that maybe this was a mistake. Maybe they'd drop her off. Maybe it was a robbery. Maybe they stopped. The bus didn't jerk. It sighed like it had done this too many times before. Angela looked up. What stood before her was not a house, not a hospital, not even a factory. Just a structure. Grey walls. One long corridor, A small compound with no gate, just an opening like an open mouth, waiting. No neighbours, no barking dogs, no footsteps, no life. One yellow bulb swung above the doorway, casting shadows across the ground. Angela's fingers curled tightly into her palm. The man beside her stood. So did the others. Nobody shouted at her. Nobody pulled her violently. They simply looked at her and waited, like they knew the fear would move her feet. And it did. She stepped down. The air outside was colder. Still, no crickets, no distant voices, just the quiet of places that don't want to be found. They walked her in. The corridor was empty, too empty. No chairs, no papers, no cobwebs even, just smooth white walls, long and plain, the kind you can't remember even after staring. The floor smelled faintly of disinfectant. Angela's slippers made soft sounds as they walked. She glanced sideways. There were no windows, only walls. 1, 2, 5 doors, all closed, except the last one. It was painted red, a deep, ugly red, like dried palm oil. Or worse, they stopped in front of it. The woman who had pretended to hum earlier knocked. Once, twice. Silence. Then the door opened. Not wide, just enough. A man stepped out. Tall, quiet, wear clean gloves. No words, just a nod. Angela felt the world around her go distant, like she was watching someone else live her life. They took her hand, not harshly, like they were used to it. That's how they do it, she'd heard before. They don't beat you, they don't scream. They just remove your fear until you forget to fight. They walked her in. The room was bright, cold. The lights above were white and sharp. There was a table in the middle. It looked clean, too clean. No blood, no dirt, no stains. Just silence and smell. That smell of spirit. Gloves and steel. Angela blinked. To her left a cabinet, locked. To her right a trolley. On it, tape, plastic, wipes, a small bottle of what looked like iodine. She didn't want to look at the rest. There was a chair in the corner, and someone was sitting in it. An old man, thin, still, staring at the wall. His eyes didn't blink. His chest didn't rise. Angela wasn't sure if he was breathing, or if he was still in there. They sat her down on a smaller stool across the room. No one spoke to her. She was just there, waiting, listening, alone, but not really. She knew what was happening now. This wasn't a robbery. It wasn't a mistake. And it wasn't going to end quickly. They examined her. The man in gloves spoke to her kidnappers. "She's calm," he said. "Yes, they usually are. The tired ones," one of the kidnappers answered. "Age? 27. Perfect. Skin's intact too." He said, "She's breathing shallow. That's normal. Shock does that." "Should I sedate her now?" one of the staff asked. "No, not yet. Wait for the checklist." "She was picked up from Ozubulu South?" the man on gloves asked. "Yes, the junction near the pharmacy." The female kidnapper answered. "A tailor, I think." "Was she alone?" he asked. "Yes. Nobody followed. No one was looking." "Good. That makes processing easier." Angela blinked once. She was still sitting. She hadn't moved. No one had tied her. No one had shouted. Just voices. Low, soft. Like this wasn't a crime. Like this was work. The man with the gloves came forward. "She's not asking questions," he said. "They rarely do." One of them replied, "I think she understands. She'll stay quiet." The man on gloves said. Behind her, a light hum buzzed from a small fridge. It sounded like mosquitoes. A door opened somewhere. Footsteps entered. A man came in. He looked confident. He spoke. "Is she new?" "Yes, we just brought her in," one of them replied. "Her vitals?" "Stable," one of them replied. "Any history?" he asked. "Unknown. No ID. No phone," one of them replied. "She's perfect," he said. Angela shifted slightly. The chair creaked. One of them turned. He spoke loudly. She moved. "She's awake. Do you want her to rest?" he asked. "No, she'll be useful first," the confident man replied. "What is your name?" he asked Angela. Angela. Her voice barely came out. They all turned facing her. She spoke. One of them said, "Yes," replied the confident man. "She's aware. She doesn't know enough. She doesn't need to." There was a brief silence. The man on gloves looked at her face. "Tired eyes, sunburned skin," he said while examining her. "You're not the first," he said softly, "and you won't be the last." Angela said nothing. Her lips trembled. The other man checked a paper on a clipboard. "No major marks. Skin is clean. Her blood pressure is normal. We'll schedule her for Friday." "Friday?" one of them asked. "Yes. One more before the weekend." The man on gloves answered. The woman in the wrapper entered. "She didn't resist," she said. "I told you she looked soft. Only flinched once." When the door opened, Angela was still staring at nothing on the floor. She stared at the tiles that had no cracks. "Should we move her?" one of them asked. "Yes. Move her to Block C, Room 4, the man on gloves replied. "The small one?" "Yes. Put her there tonight." "Alone?" he asked. "No, with a student." "Ah, the one from Orca?" "Yes." The man on gloves replied. "She's still quiet," he said. Angela's heart slowed. The student? Another girl? Still here? Alive? "She sleeps all day now," someone said. "The drip keeps her down. She'll fade soon." Angela breathed in fear. The man in gloves leaned toward her. "You'll be taken to another room," he said. "Don't run. You won't be tied. But if you scream, we'll make you forget your name." Angela nodded, very slowly. Her fingers twitched. No one noticed. Or maybe they did, and didn't care. "Let's go," someone said. "Lights out in 20, the confident man said. "Yes, sir," they all replied. They stood. A hand touched Angela's shoulder, gently, like a nurse. She stood, followed, not because she wanted to, but because the body, when afraid, it obeys. They walked past another corridor. It was dimmer, colder, no sound. Then the door to room 4 opened. It has a small bed, faint bulb, and there was another girl, lying sideways. She looked thin. Her skin looked pale, eyes half closed. The girl didn't move when Angela entered. She didn't look up, didn't blink. Angela sat on the floor. The door closed behind her. There was no lock on the door, but there was no escape either. Angela stared at the girl. She didn't speak, but her presence said it all. This place eats people slowly, and Angela knew she didn't have much time. She could not sleep all through the night. Not in that place. And not with that girl. The room was cold and dim, lit by a single yellow bulb that buzzed gently above her head. The walls were bare. The floor is clean, no cobwebs, no dust. Just silence, the kind that pressed on your chest and told you didn't belong here. The other girl laid on one of the beds, her face turned to the wall. She hadn't moved once, not since Angela entered. She hasn't blinked. Angela stood up and sat on the other bed and waited. She wasn't sure what she was waiting for. A sound, a knock, a signal, anything, but nothing came. Only the hum of a distant generator and the girl's slow, ghost-like breathing. Angela swallowed hard. There was no window in the room, just a tiny vent high on the wall, not enough to see outside. It was only enough to feel the breeze whisper in and out. She looked down at her palms. They were sweating. Friday, she remembered. They said she was scheduled for Friday. That was 2 days away. 2 days? What happens on Friday? She began to imagine, but at the same time, she didn't want to know. But her brain refused to protect her anymore. It began painting pictures, the kind she'd heard in hushed conversations, the kind she once dismissed as rumors, girls that disappeared from bus stops, boys that were found without their wallets or their eyes, husbands who never came home from night shifts, mothers whose names faded off their ID cards before anyone could ask questions. Angela gripped the edge of the bed. Then something shifted. A small, soft sound, like someone's breathing had changed rhythm. Angela looked up. The girl was awake. She was still facing the wall, but her hand had moved. Slowly, the girl rolled to her back. Her face was thin, eyes heavy, lips cracked, but she was alive. Their eyes met. Neither of them spoke, but something passed between them. Some sort of recognition, connection, fear. The fear that connects them together. The silent greeting of two people trapped in the same nightmare. Angela sat still. The girl blinked, tried to speak. No sound came out, just a whisper of air, dry and weak. Angela leaned forward. "What's your name?" she asked. The girl swallowed. Her lips parted. "Chisholm," she breathed. Angela felt her chest tighten. The girl was no older than 20. She looked like someone who once smiled often. Now her face was hollow, like it had forgotten how to shape joy. Angela moved closer. "Are you okay?" she whispered. Chisholm didn't answer. She looked at the door, then back at Angela, and shook her head. "No one leaves," she whispered. Angela stared. Chisholm looked down. "They took 3 before me," she said. "I was the 4th. Angela didn't understand. "The 4th what?" Chisholm's eyes glistened. "They keep you alive until someone pays." Angela blinked. "Pays? For you," Chisholm said. "Or your parts?" Angela's stomach turned. She sat back down slowly. The silence between them grew heavy again. Then Chisholm added, "Some are lucky. If any of their relatives calls, bribes, or bring the police, but most times She couldn't finish the sentence, but Angela knew how the sentence ended. Most times, no one comes, she whispered. Angela wiped her face with the edge of her wrapper. Her mouth was dry. Her thoughts are noisy. She had no one to call. No one with money. No powerful uncle, no sugar daddy, no church group is looking for her. If she didn't get out herself, she wouldn't get out at all. She looked at Chisom again. Is there a way out? Chisom didn't speak, just looked away. Angela knew that look. It meant yes, but not easily, not without risk, not without pain, not without losing something. Angela lay down slowly on the thin mattress. Her mind refused to rest. The room grew quieter, the bulb buzzed on. But Angela's eyes stayed open, because now she had 2 days. Just 2. And if she didn't act, she would become just another story no one believed. Angela didn't sleep that night. She just lay there, eyes open, watching the ceiling, hoping somehow that answers would fall from above. Her body was tired. Her chest was tight. But her mind refused to shut down. This was real. This was Nigeria, where people disappear on a Thursday, and by Monday their posters are pasted on poles with the words "missing person" above their faces. But Angela didn't want to become a poster. She wasn't ready to die. Not like this. When morning came, the pattern began. First, she heard footsteps, then low voices, a knock, just one. Soft. The door creaked open. It was the same woman from yesterday, still wearing that wrapper with faded flowers and the same blank look on her face. She didn't greet. She didn't make eye contact. She just walked in, dropped a black nylon on the floor, turned and walked out. Angela noticed something. The woman didn't lock the door. She just shut it. Like fear alone was supposed to hold them in. Angela stood up slowly and opened the nylon. Inside was 1 sachet of water and a plastic plate of plain white rice. No oil, no seasoning, no meat, but hunger didn't care. She took the water and turned to Chisom. The girl hadn't moved since last night, still lying on her side, barely blinking. Angela opened the sachet gently and lifted it to her lips. "Drink," she whispered. Chisom didn't lift her hand, but she opened her mouth weakly and drank in slow sips. Her lips were dry. Her hands were shaking. Angela placed the rest beside her and sat back on her bed. She faced the door. She waited. About 30 minutes passed. Then she heard it. Footsteps again. The door to the corridor opened quietly. This time, it was the same man who had played the conductor role the day before. Same brown shirt. Same tired eyes. He came in with a plastic chair, dropped it beside the room, sat down, and faced the hallway. No questions. No instructions. He didn't even look at her. But Angela understood exactly what his presence meant. They were watching. The doors might not be locked, but eyes were always on them. She sat still for a while, but her brain kept ticking. She was studying them now like a tailor measuring fabric before cutting. Chisom whispered behind her, "This is how it starts." Angela turned to her. "They feed you. They act like everything is normal. Then Friday comes." Angela swallowed. She walked to the door slowly and pushed. It opened. No key. No sound. She stepped out into the corridor. It was quiet. too quiet. The kind of silence that made you question your heartbeat. Then the man in the chair turned his head calmly. "Go back inside," he said. Not angry, not threatening, just flat. Like it was something he said every day. Angela didn't argue. She stepped back inside. But this time, she was watching. She sat on the edge of the bed and started taking mental notes. The sound of the bulb buzzing. The corridor curved slightly. The vent is high up on the wall, small, but not too small. The timing between when the food came and when the corridor door opened again. They weren't locking the doors. They weren't chaining anyone. They were depending on silence, fear, and routine to keep people in place. Angela had lived in Nigeria long enough to know sometimes it's not strength that saves you, it's observation. She looked at Chisom again. The girl's eyes were open but empty. Angela whispered, "If someone wanted to leave, how would she do it?" Chisom didn't answer. She just stared at the wall. Angela knew that look. It meant there may be a way, but it won't be easy. She sat back down, lying on the bed, stared at the ceiling again. But this time her thoughts weren't panicking. They were planning, because now she had just 1.5 days left. The day before Friday felt like smoke. It moved slowly, but it choked. Angela barely spoke. She had memorized the guard schedule. She knew who passed by, what time food came, and when the corridor stayed silent the longest. But even with all that knowledge, she hadn't made a move. Not yet, because she wasn't sure. And uncertainty, in a place like this, could cost you more than time. But Chisom tried. It happened in the middle of the night. Angela heard a shuffle, then a click, then footsteps running soft, weak ones like someone dragging a leg. By the time she got to the door, the hallway was empty. Angela stood there, her hand frozen on the frame. No alarms went off, no shouting, just silence. That kind of silence that says they saw it and they handled it. She waited. Minutes passed, then an hour, then 2. Angela sat by the bed, wide awake, watching the corridor. And then they brought Chisom back. She wasn't carried. She walked, but her steps were uneven. One side of her wrapper was wet, her eyes empty. The man who walked beside her said nothing. He didn't shout. He didn't hit her. He just guided her back, like someone returning a sick animal to its cage. Angela stood up. "Chisom." But Chisom didn't respond. She climbed into bed slowly and lay on her back, eyes fixed on the ceiling. Angela crouched beside her. What did they do? Still nothing. Then, after a long pause, Chisom whispered, "I thought the door would lead outside." Angela blinked. They didn't say anything. They just smiled. "I woke up on that metal table, cold. I couldn't move my legs." Angela reached for her hand. It was trembling. Chisom's eyes watered, but no tears fell. "I heard them talking, saying I was still useful, saying I didn't need everything to survive, that as long as I could breathe, I was eligible." Angela shook her head slowly, eyes wide. Chisom continued. "They took something. She didn't say what. She didn't need to." Angela understood. Not everything stolen leaves a scar you can see. Chisom turned her face to the wall. "My body! It doesn't belong to me anymore. Angela wiped her own eyes quietly. They said I'd still be alive for another phase, Chisholm whispered. That's as long as my vitals stay stable. They'll keep me around. Like I'm some container, waiting to be emptied one part at a time.